दिव्य शिवायै सततं नमः नमो प्रकृते भद्रायं नियतः प्रन्तः यस्मतां हरिः ॐ नमो हरिहन्ताय नमः. Then chapter 37 about nirvana, nivarna or hindrance.
नहीं चल रहा है
मे भी इंटरनेट उसका यूज हो गया होगा, इसलिए तो बाद में चलेगा, फिर उसको रिचार्ज करेंगे तो इन द मीनवाइल इसको पढ़ लेते हैं थोड़ा. ओम विष्णु नमः. सो चैप्टर 37. दो ईयरफोन थोड़ा शेयर करोगे तो कर दो. ओम हरि ओम महम.
ओम हरि ओम ओम हरि ओम ओम हरि ओम.
So the chapter 37 about nivarana or hindrance. Like there are these 5 corruptions of the heart, trained by which the heart is neither soft nor pliable, nor gleaming, nor easily broken up, nor perfectly composed for the destruction of the corruptions. Samyukta Nikaya. Nivarana, ni plus verb plus to hinder, to obstruct, is that which hinders one's progress, of that which obstructs the path to emancipation and heavenly states. It is also explained as that which muffles, enwraps, or transmits through thought. There are 5 kinds of nivaranas or hindrances. They are: number 1, sensual desires, kama chanda; number 2, ill will, vyapada; number 3, sloth and torpor, thinnamiddham; number 4, restlessness and worry, uddhacha kukka; and doubts, vikicha. Number 1, kamachanda means sensual desires or attachment to pleasurable sense objects such as form, sound, odor, taste, and contact. This is regarded as one of the fetters too that bind one to samsara. An average person is bound to get tempted by these alluring objects of sense. Lack of self-control results in the inevitable arising of passions. This hindrance is inhibited by one-pointedness, ekagata, which is one of the 5 characteristics of dhyanaj, jnanaj, the janaj. It is attenuated on attaining Shakadagami and is completely eradicated on attaining Annagami. Subtle forms of attachment such as Rupa Raga and Arupa Raga, attachment to realms of form and formless realms, are eradicated only on attaining Arahantship. The following 6 conditions tend to the eradication of sense desires. Number 1, perceiving the loathsomeness of the object. Number 2, constant meditation on loathsomeness. Number 3, sense restraint. Number 4, moderation in food. Number 5, good friendship. And 6, profitable time. Then number 2, vyapada is ill will or aversion. A desirable object leads to attachment. while an undesirable one leads to aversion. These are the two great fires that burn the whole world, aided by ignorance. These two produce all sufferings in the world. Ill will is inhibited by pity or joy, which is one of the jhana factors. It is attenuated on attaining Shakadagami and is eradicated on attaining Annagami. The following six conditions tend to the eradication of ill will. Number one, perceiving the object with thoughts of goodwill. Number two, constant meditation on loving kindness, metta. Number three, thinking that karma is one's own. Number four, adherence to that view. Number five, good friendship. And six, profitable talk. Then number three, thinna or sloth is explained as a morbid state of the mind, and vidya as a morbid state of the mental states. A stolid mind is as inert as a bat hanging to a tree, or as molasses cleaving to a stick, or as a lump of butter too stiff for spreading. Sloth and torpor should not be understood as bodily drowsiness, because arhants who have destroyed these two states also experience bodily fatigue. These two promote mental inertness and are opposed to strenuous effort, virya. They are inhibited by the jhana factor vitakka or initial application and are eradicated on attaining arhancy. The following six conditions tend to the eradication of sloth and torpor. Number one, reflection on the object of moderation in food. Number two, changing of bodily postures. Number three, contemplation on the object of light. Number four, living in the open. Number four, living in the open. Number five, good friendship. And number six, profitable talk. Then about number four, Udacha is mental restlessness or excitement of the mind. It is a mental state associated with all types of immoral consciousness. The immortal consciousness. As a rule, an evil was done with some excitement or restlessness during those periods. And they were discussing the things in current. That's why age is referred. As a rule, an evil is done with some excitement or restlessness. Is it so? It's a questionable fact. Then Kokoche is worry. It is either repentance over the committed evil or over the unfulfilled good. Repentance over one's evil does not exempt one from its inevitable consequences. The best repentance is the will not to repeat that evil. Both these hindrances are inhibited by the jhana factor, sukha or happiness. Restlessness is eradicated on attaining arhanship, and worry is eradicated on attaining annagami. The following six conditions tend to the eradication of these two states. Number one, erudition or learning. Number two, questioning or discussion. Number three, understanding the nature of the Vinaya discipline. Number four, association with senior monks. Number five, good friendship. And number six, profitable talk. Then about number five, Vikikiccha is doubt or indecision. That which is devoid of the remedy of wisdom is Vikichika. V means devoid. Sitika wisdom. It is also explained as vexation due to perplexed thinking. Viki matlab seeking, इच्छा matlab vexation. Which विचार करना, like thinking, exploring. इच्छा, इच्छा, expectations, aspirations for which you are pursuing. It is not used in the sense of doubt with regard to the Buddha, etc. For even non-Buddhist inhibit Vikiccha and gain jhanas as a further Vikiccha is that doubt about Buddha, etc. But as a hindrance, it denotes unsteadiness in one particular thing that is being done. The commentarial explanation of Vikiccha is the inability to decide anything definitely that it is so. In other words, it is indecision. Is it so? It is also question. So this state is inhibited by the jhana factor, which are assistant application. It is eradicated on attaining Sotapatti. The following six conditions tend to its eradication. Number one, knowledge of the Dhamma and Vinaya. Number two, discussion or questioning. Number three, understanding of the nature of the Vinaya discipline. Number four, excessive confidence. Number five, good friendship. And number six, profitable talk. And it continues. So, the chapter 31 refers the way to Nibbana, part 3. Like transient are all conditioned things, sorrowful are all conditioned things, soulless are all conditioned and non-conditioned Dhammapada. Then about insight, Vipassana. When the jhanas are developed by temporarily inhibiting the hindrances Nivarana, the mind is so purified that it resembles a polished mirror, where everything is clearly reflected in true perspective. Still, there is not complete freedom from unwholesome thoughts, for by concentration the evil tendencies are only temporarily inhibited. They may rise to the surface at quite unexpected moments. Discipline regulates words and deeds. Concentration controls the mind, but it is insight panna, the third and the final stage that enables the aspirant to send to to eradicate wholly the defilements inhibited by samadhi. At the outset, he cultivates purity of vision, Ditya Vishuddhi, in order to see things as they truly are with the one point in mind. He analyzes and examines this so called being. This searching examination shows what he has called personality to be merely a complex compound of mind and matter, which are in a state of constant flux. Having thus gained a correct view of the real nature of this so called being, freed from the false notion of a permanent soul, he searches for the cause of this I personality. The third stage of the path of purity, as it is referred here about Ditya Vishuddhi, purity of vision. He realized that there is nothing in the world but is conditioned by some cause or causes past or present, and that its present existence is due to past ignorance, avijja, craving, tanha, grasping, upadana, kamma, and physical food of the present life. On account of these five causes, this so called being has arisen, and as part causes have conditioned the present, so the present will condition the future. Meditating thus, he transcends all doubts with regard to past, present, and future. Thereupon, he contemplates the truth that all conditioned things are transient, anicca, subject to suffering, dukkha, and devoid of an immortal soul, anatta. Wherever he turns his eyes, he sees not but these three characteristics standing out in bold relief. He realizes that life is a mere flux conditioned by internal and external causes. Now, here, does he find any genuine happiness? For everything is fleeting. As he thus contemplates the real nature of life and is absorbed in meditation, a day comes when, to his surprise, he witnesses an aura, Abha Mandal, Avabasha, emitted by his body. He experiences an unprecedented pleasure, happiness, and quietude. He becomes even minded, religious. Fervor increases, mindfulness becomes clear, and insight keen. Mistaking this advanced state of moral progress for sainthood, chiefly owing to the presence of the aura, he develops a liking for this mental state. Soon the realization comes that these new developments are impediments to moral progress, and he cultivates the purity of knowledge with regards to the path and non path. Kanka Vitarana Vishuddhi is written here as a reference to the fourth stage of the path of purity. Number 3 about Magganandasana Vishuddhi, the fifth stage of the path of purity. Perceiving the right path, he resumes his meditation on the arising Udyanana and passing away Vayanana of all conditioned things. Of these two states, the latter becomes moral impressed on his mind since change is more conspicuous than becoming. Therefore, he directs his attention to contemplation of the dissolution of things. Bhanganana. The reference for Nalanda says about the system of learning and continuation of assemblies for observation of West finance. He perceived that both mind and matter, which constitute this so-called being, are in a state of constant flux, not remaining for two consecutive moments the same. To him then comes the knowledge that all dissolving things are fearful. Bhayanana. The whole world appears to him as a pit of burning embers, a source of danger. Subsequently, he reflects on the richness and vanity, adinvanana of the fearful and deluded world, and gets a feeling of disgust. Nivedan, followed by a strong will for deliverance
Low
from it.
battery,
Muni
please charge.
Chittu Kammatanna. With the object in view, he resumes his meditations on the three characteristics of transiency, sorrow, and soullessness. Patishankhan, and thereafter develops complete equanimity towards all conditioned things, having neither attachment nor aversion
Low
for any
battery, please
worldly
charge.
object. Upekhanna. Reaching this point of spiritual culture, he chooses one of the three characteristics for his object of spatial endeavor and integrity, cultivates insights in that particular direction until the glorious day when he first realizes Nibbana, his ultimate goal. As a traveler by night sees the landscape around him by a flash of lighting, and the picture so obtained swims along thereafter
Low battery, please charge.
before his dazzled eyes. So the individual seekers, by the flashing light of insight, glimpses Nibbana with such clearness that the after picture never more fades from his mind. The footnote for refers number one, these 9 kinds of insight, namely Udyavaya Vanga Vaya Adinavanevitam Chetukam Yatam Patishanka and Upekha Unnanas are collectively termed to be Aktipadananda Shuddhi, purity of vision as regards knowledge of progress, the sixth stage of the path of purity. Number 52. Insight found in this supermundane path consciousness is known as Manadasana Vishuddhi, purity of vision, which is knowledge, the seventh member of the path of purity. So, as stated, as the traveler by night sees the landscape around him by a flash of lightning, and the picture so obtained swims long thereafter before his dazzled eyes. So, the individual seeker, by the flashing light of insight, glimpses Nirvana with such clearness that the after picture nevermore fades from his mind. When the spiritual pilgrim realizes Nibbana for the first time, he is called a Shotapanna, one who has entered the stream that leads to Nibbana for the first time. The stream represents the noble eightfold path. A stream winner is no more a worldling Puttu Janna but an Arya noble. On attaining this first stage of sainthood, he eradicates the following three fetters, samyojana, that bind him to existence, namely, number one, shakyaditti, shati plus kaya plus ditti, literally view when a group or compound exists. Here, kaya refers to the five aggregates of matter: feeling, perception, mental states, and consciousness. The view that there exists an unchanging entity, a permanent soul, when there is a complex compound of psychophysical aggregates, is termed Shakya Ditti. Dhamma Sangini enumerates 20 kinds of such soul theories. Number 7. Shakyaditya is usually rendered as a self-illusion, theory of individuality or illusion of individualism. Number 2. Vikichicha, doubts. They are doubts about number 1, Buddha, number 2, the Dhamma. Number 3, the Sangha. Number 4, the disciplinary rules, Shikha. Number 5, the past. Number 6, the future. Number 7, both the past and the future. And 8, dependent origination, Patiksha, Shamopada. Number 3, Sila Bhatta Paramasa, adherence to wrongful rites and ceremonies. Dhammasangini explains it thus: it is the theory held by ascetics and Brahmins outside this doctrine that purification is obtained by rules of moral conduct, or by rites, or by both rites of moral conduct and rites. Reference 6, refers about Dr. Dhalke, 7 say Dhamma Sangini, translation, page 259. For the eradication of the remaining 7 fetters, Shotapanna is reborn 7 times at the most. He gains implicit confidence in the Buddha, the Dhammarana, and the Sangha. He would not for any reason violate any of the 5 precepts. He is not subject to rebirth in states of war, as he is destined to enlightenment. With fresh courage as a result of this distant glimpsing of Nibbana, the noble pilgrim makes a rapid progress, and perfecting his insight becomes a Shakadagami, once a returner in the second stage of sainthood by attenuating to other fetters, namely sense desires, Kam, Raga, and ill will, Patika. Now he is called a once a returner because he is born in the human realm only once, should he not attain arhatship in that birth itself. It is interesting to note that the Arya saint who has attained the second stage of sainthood can only weaken these two powerful fetters, with which he is bound from a beginningless past. At times, though to a slight extent, he may harbor thoughts of lust and anger. It is by attaining the third stage of sainthood, that of the Anagami, never eternal, that he completely eradicates those two fetters. Thereafter, he neither returns to this world nor is reborn in the celestial realm, since he has rooted out the desire for sensual gratification. After death, he is reborn in the pure abodes. Shuddhavasa, an environment reserved for Anagamis. There he attains arhanship and lives till the end of his life. When a layman becomes an Anagami, he leads a celibate life. Section 1005 is referred here. Then the Anagami saint now makes his final advance and destroying the remaining five fetters, namely attachment to realms of form, Rupa Raga, attachment to formless realms, Arupa Raga, pride, Manna, restlessness, Udacha, and ignorance, Avijja, attains arhanship, the final stage of sainthood. Extreme winners, once returners, never returners, are called Shiksha because they have yet to undergo a training. Arhans are called Shikshas, adepts, because they no more undergo any training. They will serve and support others for this training learning process. An arhat, literally the one, is not subject to rebirth because he does not accumulate fresh karmic activities. The seeds of his reproduction have all been destroyed. The arhat realizes that what was to be accomplished has been done. A heavy burden of sorrow has finally been relinquished, and all forms of craving and all shades of ignorance are totally annihilated. The happy pilgrim now stands on heights more than celestial, far removed from uncontrolled passions and the defilements of the world, experiencing the unutterable bliss of Nirvana. Rebirth can no longer affect him since no more reproductive seeds are formed by fresh karmic activities. Though an arhat is not wholly free from physical suffering, as this experience of the bliss of deliverance is only intermittent, nor has he yet cast off his material body. An arhat is called an asheka, one who does not undergo training, as he has lived the holy life and has accomplished his object. The other saints from the Sotapatti stage to the Arhat path stage are called Shekhas because they still undergo training. Shishyach. It may be mentioned in this connection that Anagamis and Arhants who have developed the Rupa and Arupa jhanas could experience the Nibbanic bliss uninterruptedly for as long as 7 days. Even in this life, this in Pali is known as Nirodha Samapatti. An Arya in this state is wholly free from pain and his mental activities are all suspended. His stream of consciousness temporarily ceases to flow. With regard to the difference between one who has attained Nirodha Samapatti and did men the Vishuddhimagga states in the corpus, not only are the plastic forces of the body, that is respiration, speech and mind, stilled and questioned, but also vitality is exhausted, hate is quenched, and the faculties of sense broken up. Whereas in the Bhikshu in ecstatic vitality persists. Heart divides and the faculties are clear, although respiration, observation, and perception are still then questioned. According to Buddhism, in conventional terms, this is the highest form of bliss possible in this life. Then why does an arhan continue to live when he has already attained nirvana? It is because the karmic force which produced his birth is still not spent. To quote Schopenhauer, it is like the potter's will from which the hand of the potter has been lifted. Or to cite a better illustration from our own books, an arhat is like a branch that is severed from the tree. It puts forth no more fresh leaves, flowers, and fruits as it is no longer supported by the shape of the tree. Those which already existed, however, last till the death of that particular branch. The arhat lives out his lifespan, adding no more fresh karma to his store and utterly indifferent to death. Literally, Attainment to Cessation. See a Manual of Abhidhamma by Narada Thera, page 227, 435. The Path of Purity, part 2, page 872. Like Venerable Sariputta, he would say, not when am I to die, nor yet to live. I shall lay down this mortal frame anon, with mind alert, with consciousness controlled, with hours of death. I daily not, nor yet delight in living. I await the hour like any hireling who hath done his task. Then what happens to the arhat after his passing away? As a flame blown to and fro by the wind goes out and cannot be resisted. So says the Buddha. An arhat set free from mind and matter has disappeared and cannot be resisted. Has such an arhat then merely disappeared, or does he indeed no longer exist? For him who has disappeared, states the Sutta Nipata, there exists no form by which they could say he is when all conditions are cut off, all matter for discussion is also cut off. The Udanna explains this intricate point thus. As the fiery sparks from a forge are not only one by one extinguished, and no one knows where they have gone, so it is with those who have attained to complete emancipation, who have crossed the flood of desire, who have entered the calm delight of those no trace remains. The Majjhima Nikaya also relates an interesting discussion between the Buddha and Vacchagoda concerning this very question. Number 11, Psalms of the Brethren, page 346. Number 12c, Woodward's Verses of Uplift, page 114. Number 13, Vacchagoda, Sutta number 72. Vacchagoda, a wandering ascetic, approached the Buddha and questioned, but Gautama, where is the Bhikshu who is the deliverer of mind reborn? He was, of course, referring to the arhat. The Buddha replied, Vacha. To say that he is reborn would not fit the case. then Gautama he is not reborn. Vacha, to say that he is not reborn would not fit this case. Then Gautama he is both reborn and not reborn. Vacha, to say that he is both reborn and not reborn would not fit the case. Then Gautama he is neither reborn nor not reborn. Vacha, to say that he is neither reborn nor not reborn would not fit the case. Vacha was baffled on hearing these seemingly inconsistent answers and in his confusion exclaimed, Gautama, I am at loss to think in this matter, and I have become greatly confused. Gautama is the name of the Buddha. Enough, Vacha, but not at a loss to think in this matter and be not greatly confused. Profound, Vacha, is this doctrine. Recondite and difficult of comprehension, good, excellent, and not to be reached by mere reasoning. Subtle and intelligible only to the wise, and it is a hard doctrine for you to learn, who belong to another sect, to attain faith, to another persuasion, to another discipline, and who sit at the feet of another teacher. Therefore, Vacha, I shall now question you. And do you make answer as may seem to you good? What think you, Vacha? Suppose a fire were to burn in front of you. Would you be aware that fire was burning in front of you? Gautama, if a fire were to burn in front of me, I should be aware that a fire was burning in front of me. But suppose, Vacha, someone were to ask you, on what does this fire that is burning in front of you depend? What would you answer, Vacha? I would answer, Gautama, it is one full of grass and wood that this fire burning in front of me depends. But Vacha, if the fire in front of you were to become extinct, would you be aware that the fire in front of you had become extinct? Gautama, if the fire in front of me were to become extinct, I should be aware that the fire in front of me had become extinct. But Vacha, if someone were to ask you, in what direction has the fire gone? East or west, north or south? What would you say, Vacha? The question would not fit the case, Gautama, for the fire depended on fuel of grass and wood, and when that fuel has all gone, and it can get no other, being thus without nutrition, it is said to be extinct. The nourishment, the fuel. In exactly the same way, Bacha, all forms, sensations, perceptions, mental activities, and consciousness have been abandoned, uprooted, made like a palmavera stem, become extinct and not liable to spring up in the future. The saint or Vacha who has been released from what are styled the five aggregates is deep immeasurable like the mighty ocean. To say that he is reborn would not fit the case. To say that he is not reborn would not fit the case. To say that he is neither reborn nor not reborn would not fit the case. One cannot say that the Arhat is reborn, as all passions that condition rebirth are eradicated, nor can one say that the Arhat is annihilated, for there is nothing to annihilate. Robert Oppenheimer, scientist, writes, if we ask, for instance, whether the position of the electron remains the same, we must say no. If we ask whether the electron's position changes with time, we must say no. Why? If you know the things, you could tell. If we ask whether it is in motion, we must say no. Is it so? If you are being told by the orator about electricity, yes, it is in motion, or it is not, you can understand. The Buddha has given such answers when interrogated as to the conditions of man's self after death, but they are not familiar answers from the tradition of the 17th and 18th century science. Pause and discussion brainstormings are the process of learning. On every paragraph, the guidelines should be followed. Then Nibbana, it may safely be concluded, is obtained by the complete cessation of the defilements, kilesa. But the real nature of this supreme state, Dhamma, cannot be expressed in words. From a metaphysical standpoint, Nibbana is complete deliverance from suffering. From a psychological standpoint, Nibbana is the eradication of egoism. From an ethical standpoint, Nibbana is the destruction of lust, hatred, and ignorance. And it continues. The process may take time, and the related factor reveals solutions. Like evidently, the writer is referring to the state of an Arhat day, but the things, because it happened thousands years ago, and what about the process of the Salvana dissolving into the creator of the universe, as others saints prophets were stated, as the incarnation of the God was raped. Then about chapter 39, the state of an Arhat, it will be dealt. Thou little he recites the staggered text with texts in accordance with the teaching, forsaking lust, hatred, and ignorance, surely knowing with mind will free, clinging to not here and hereafter, he shares the fruit of the holy life, about the state of Arhat. The Tipitaka abounds with interesting and self-elevating sayings that describes the peaceful and happy state of an Arhat who abides in the Lord till the end of his life, serving other seekers of truth by example and by precepts. So in the Dhammapada, the Buddha states, and it will continue, for him who has completed the journey, for him who is sorrowless, for him who from everything is wholly free, for him who has destroyed all ties, the fever of passion exists not. Verses 90 is given here. The mindful exert themselves to know abode, are they dashed like Swans that quite their pools, home after home, they abandon and go. Verses 91 and about of life in the round of existence, like an it continues, or one gives up sorrow by attaining anagami, the third stage of sainthood. It is at this stage when he dedicates completely attachment to sense desires and ill will or aversion. Shabdi, the five aggregates, etc. And number four, there are four kinds of gandhas, ties, namely number one, covetousness, abhijiha, number two, ill will, vayyapada, number three, indulgence in wrongful rites and ceremonies, Shilavatta Paramash, number four, adherence to one's preconceptions as truth, idam satyavinidesha. This verse refers to the ethical state of an arahant. It is both physical and mental. An arahant experiences bodily heat as long as he is alive, but is not thereby boring. Mental heat of passions he experiences not. Arahant's wonders whatsoever, with whithersoever they like without any attachment to any particular places as they are free from the conception of I and mine. There are two kinds of accumulation, namely karmic activities and the four necessaries of life. The former tend to prolong life in samsara, and the latter, though essential, may prove an obstacle to spiritual progress. To get rid of the desire for food. Number nine, Nibbana is deliverance from suffering, vimuccha. It is called void because it is void of lust, hatred, and ignorance, not because it is nothingness or annihilation. Nibbana is a positive supermundane state which cannot be expressed in mundane words. It is signless because it is free from the signs of lust, etc. Arhant's experience Nibbanic bliss while alive. It is not correct to say that Arhants exist after death or do not exist after death. For Nibbana is neither eternalism nor nihilism. In Nibbana, nothing is eternalized nor is anything except passions annihilated. Arhants experience Nibbanic bliss by attaining to the fruit of Arhantship in this life itself. By Indakila is meant either column as firm and high as that of Shakyas or the chief columns that stands at the entrance to a city. Commentators state that these Indakilas are farm posts which are erected either inside or outside the city as an embellishment. Usually they are made of bricks or of durable wood and are octagonal in shape. Half of the coast is embedded in the earth, hence the metaphor as firm and steady as an Indakil. Number 11, Tari is one who has neither attachment to desirable objects nor aversions to undesirable objects, nor does he cling to anything. Amidst the eight worldly conditions, scandal, loss, fame or infamy, blame or praise, happiness and pain, and Arhant remains unperturbed, manifesting neither attachment nor aversion, neither elation nor depression, as they are not subject to birth and death. From all defilements, senses, mind is absolutely pure. The one in the original Pali is lost in the translation. Ashad, though literally unfaithful, he does not merely accept from other sources because he himself knows from personal experience. Akata means nirvana. It is so called because it is not created by anyone. Akatan can also be interpreted as unbreakable, the links of existence and rebirth. Sandichindo also means a housebreaker, that is a burglar. 19. The Vakashohi who has destroyed the opportunity. 21. Tashohi who eats vomit in another meaning by means of the four paths of Sentu. Gross forms of desire are eradicated at the first three stages, the subtle forms at the last stage. Ninna and Kalla, literally lowering and elevated grounds. So, in the Dhammapada, the Buddha states, for him who has completed the journey, for him who is sorrowless, for him who from everything is wholly free, for him who has destroyed all ties and fever of passion exist not versus that. The mindful exert themselves to know God are they test like swans that quit their course home after home. They abandon and go. Verses 91 is the sixth is the mantra. They for whom there is no accumulation, who reflects well over their food, who have deliverance which is void and signless as their object, their course like that of birds in the air cannot be traced. About mantra 92, verse 92. He whose corruption are destroyed, he who is not attached to food, he who has deliverance which is void and signless as his object, his path like that of birds in the air cannot be traced. Verses 93. Then he whose senses are subdued, like steeds well trained by a charioteer, he whose pride is destroyed and is free from the corruptions. Such a steadfast one even the gods hold dear. Verses 94. About six about the mantras about the hands, like the earth balanced and well disciplined person saints not is comparable to an Nakala, like a pole unsullied by mud, means clean water is he. To such balance one life's wandering do not arise. This is verse 95. Calm in his mind, calm in his speech, calm in his action. Rightly knowing is equally free, perfectly peaceful and equipoised. Verses 96. The man who is not credulous, who understands the uncreated Nirvana, who has cut off the links, who has put an end to occasion of good and evil, who has eschewed and all desires, he indeed is a supreme man. Verses 97. Whether in village or in forest, in well or on hill, wherever Arhans dwells, delightful indeed is that scope. This is Natalie. Delightful are the forests where worldlings delight not, but passionless will rejoice therein, for they seek no sensual pleasures. Verses 99. Happily do we live without hate amongst the hateful. Amidst hateful men we dwell unhating. Verses 197. Happily do we live in good health amongst the ailing, and amidst ailing men we dwell in good health. Verses 198. Happily do we live without yearning for sensual pleasures amongst those who yearn for them. Amidst those who yearn for them will dwell without yearning. Verses 199. Happily do we live, we who have no impediments of faders of joy, shall we be even as the gods of the radiant realm? Verses 200. For whom there exists neither the either, nor the Father sure, nor Buddha either, and the Father sure, he who is undistressed and unbound, him I call Brahmana. Verses 385. The passionless hence rejoices in secluded forests which have no attraction for worldling, free from the disease of passion, kinchana such as lust, hatred, and delusion, which are hindrance to spiritual progress. Param, the six personal sense fields. Aparam, the six external sense field, not grasping anything as me and mine. He who practices concentration, samatha, and insights, vipassana, ashanam, living alone in the forest. He who is meditative, stillness and secluded. He who has done his duty and is free from corruptions. He who has attained the highest goal, him I call a Brahma. Verse 386. And that does not evil through body, speech, or mind, who is restrained in these three respects. Him I call a Brahmana. Verses 391. He who has cut off all fetters, who trembles not, who has gone beyond ties, who is unbound. Him I call a Brahmana. 6397. He who has cut the strap or hatred, the throne craving, and the rope herein, so together with the appendages, latent tendencies, who has thrown up the crossbar ignorance, who is enlightened Buddha. Him I call a ब्राह्मणा वर्सेस 398. थोड़ी देर रुक जाओ, इसको पूरा एक बार पढ़ लेते हैं, चैप्टर पूरा होगा उसके बाद स्टार्ट कर देंगे। हाँ थोड़ी देर रुक जाओ, चैप्टर पूरा होगा, ठीक है, थोड़ी देर रुक जाओ उसके बाद स्टार्ट करेंगे। Like that about enlightenment, the Buddha him I called a Brahmana. He who without anger endures reproach, flogging, and punishment, whose power the potent army is patient, him I call the Brahmana. Verses 399. He who is not wrathful, but is dutiful, virtuous, free from craving, self-controlled, and bears some final body, him I call the Brahmana. Verses 400. What about the benchmarking and the parameters set up God? Should not clarify the real characteristics of the person, because there are impressions of past work, and who may not know on which fringe of living a person is living. He who is not wrathful but is dutiful, virtuous, free from craving, self-control, and bears his final body, and I call the Brahm, the Brahma. He is referring about Brahma, like water on a lotus leaf, as it is vapor here, like water on a lotus leaf, like a mustard seed on the point of a needle. He who clings not to sensual pleasures, him I call the Brahmana. Brahm versus Pujya. It was referring about Brahman. The footnotes also by realizing the four truths and eradicating the fetters. That is Nivanna, who has understood the four noble truths, devoted to religious austerity, because he, having destroyed the passions, would be reborn. He who realizes here in this world the destruction of his sorrow, who has laid the burden aside and is emancipated in verses 4. He whose knowledge is deep, who is wise, who is skilled in the right and wrong way, who has reached the highest goal in verses 403. He who is not intimate either with the householders or with the homeless ones who wanders without an abode, who is without desires, he might well be wrong. Verses 44. These may be the statements of an aspirator having greater expectations from someone else. He who has laid aside the cudgel and is dealing with beings, whether feeble or strong, who neither harm nor kills him, I call Brahman. Verses 405. It could be interpreted further also. He who is friendly amongst the hostile, who is peaceful amongst the violent, who is unattached amongst the attached, he might call the Brahman. Verses 406. In whom lust, hatred, pride, and detraction are fallen off like a mustard seed from the point of a needle. He might call the Brahman. Verses 407. He who utters gentle, instructive, true words, who by his speech gives offense to none. He might call the Brahman. Verses 408. The burden of the aggregates, who knows the way to the woeful estates, to the blissful estates, and to the money, literally towards beings, those who are attached to the aggregates. He who has no desires, whether pertaining to this world or to the next, who is desireless and emancipated, he might call it wrong. Thus is spoken herein he who has transcended both good and bad, and the ties as well, who is sorrowless, stainless and pure, he might call it wrong. Verses 412. He who is spotless as the moon, who is pure, serene, and unperturbed, who has destroyed craving for becoming Michael. Verses 413. He who, discarding human ties and transcending celestial ties, is completely delivered from all ties in Michael. Verses 417. He who has given up likes and dislikes, who is cold and is without defilements, who has conveyed the world and is strenuous in my verses 418. He who has no clinging to aggregates that are past, future, or present, who is without clinging and grasping him, my Ram. Verses 421. The lust, hatred, delusion, pride, and false views, and disturbed by defilements. That is it. attachment to sense desires. Adapted dislike for forest life commentary was given here as it is mentioned in footnotes by someone. Upadhi. There are four kinds of upadhi, namely the aggregates, khanda, the passion, kilesa, volitional activities, abhishamkara, and sense desires, kama. That is the world of aggregates. Shabbam fearless as a bull, Maheshin, seeker of higher morality, concentration, and wisdom. The fearless, the noble, the hero, the great sage, the conqueror, the desireless, the cleanser of defilements, the enlightened, him I call the one. This is 22 is the like the mantra related with an admiration of the God that says who knows him former abodes, who sees the blissful and the woeful states, who has reached the end of birth, who with superior wisdom has perfected himself, who has completed the holy life and reaches the end of full passion. In my Brahmana, this is the verses 423. In this matter, it continues and the process looks further for its further accomplishments. It continues. Om Namo Divyaya Mahadivyaya Shivaya Sattam Namah Vishnu Namaha. There are some footnotes like Vijitta Vinnam, the conqueror of passion. Nahatakam, he who has washed away all impurities. Buddham, he who has understood the four noble truths. Sagat, the six heavenly realms, the 16 Rupa realms, and the four Arupa realms. Apya, the four vocal states. Jati, Kayim, and that is Arhanship. Avinnavosito, that is rest and culmination by comprehending that which should be comprehended, by discarding that which should be discarded, by realizing that which should be realized, and by developing that which should be developed. Subhavositavosannam, that is having lived the holy life which culminates in wisdom pertaining to the path of friendship, the end of passion continues, and the journey begins for accomplishment of associated factors. The next chapter will tell about the Bodhisattva idea. Om Karpuravaram Satsarasaram Bhujagendraharam Sada Vasantam Vidyaravindo Bhavam Bhavanim Saitam Namami Harihe Yam Maham. Om Vishnu Namaha Harihe Yam Maham. Om Namo Buddhaya Mahabuddhaya Shivaya Satatam Namam. Namo Prakrite Vadraya Niyata Pranataya Smatam Harihi Yam Maham. Om Vishnu Namaha Harihi Yam Maham. Om Namo